My parents were born and raised in West Virginia, and we lived up in Romney in the eastern panhandle of the state. And I had four siblings. So there were four girls and one boy in my family. And one day we were all walking home from school. It was like 4 p.m, and my mother drove by in the car and she said, "You all get in." So we got in the car and she said, "We're moving to your grandmother's and I'm suing your father for divorce." And we left and I never went home again. That was it. And we never had any preparation for it. I didn't know this was happening. And it was very hard and traumatic because I I always tried to have a relationship with my father, but he was a doctor and he worked all the time. And when he wasn't working, he really wasn't even home. He would just stay at his office. But something about the kind of person I was made me feel like I wanted to try and show him that I loved him. So we went to my grandmother's, and it was a January night and it was really cold and it was snowing, and my mother was petrified of driving in the snow, but she had to do this. While we'd been at school that day, she had gathered up enough stuff for all five of us children to take in the car for however long, we what we could make do with, because she couldn't take everything. So we got down there after dark and went to my aunt and uncle's and grandmother's house. They all lived together then. And we were just young kids. And so we just went along with it. But about 4 o'clock in the morning, there was a knock on the door of my grandmother's house. And it was my father. He had driven down from where we lived, which is about a 4-hour drive, and said, "You are coming with me. You have to come back." And he was going to, drag us all out and take us back. And my mom said no, and my aunt and uncle, my grandmother, were trying to reason with my dad, and he was very unreasonable. And they had to call the police to get him to leave. And so he finally left. But when I was, in the other room, in the bedroom, just listening to all this as a little girl, really scared, and thought, what's going on? What's happening? What are we going to do? And so I think that was probably the time that I was the most afraid in my life, was that night. But we ended up staying, and it was a lot of problems in between before things settled down. But anyway, that's my story of being afraid.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. Like I had you saying that the worst thing of your life, like you're afraid, is that when your mom found you with your siblings, your four, uh, three girls and one boy. You're working somewhere, then your mom pulled, sorry, your mother came for you on the your way going back home, and she told you that you're going with her, you're not going home anymore. And by then it was snowing. It was, do you say it was in
January.
January? Yeah. So you didn't know where to go. You didn't know what had happened, but she told you that she was taking you to your grandmother. So when you went to your grandmother, time went by. Then your father drove that side where your grandmother lived, and he knocked on your door, on the door, and you're afraid what was going to happen, because you had never seen that. Your mom didn't even explain to you why she was divorced. She was going to be divorced with your father. Then your dad was like, you all have to go with him. So because you didn't know what was going on, you were all afraid what was going to happen. So he said that he has to go with you. So that made you more scared, more afraid. But your grandmother was there for you. But again, you're like, that was your worst part of it. Like, what was really going to happen, what had happened. So your father and your mother were exchanging words, Yeah, so far that's what I could memorize, I could remember.
That's, yeah, you're right.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
Well, I'm sorry it's such a sad, depressing story, but that was a scary time.
Sure, I really understand and I feel you so much. All right, the worst part of it is when I my face was put in the newspaper. In the newspaper, we had a certain we had gone to a party. Then I used to take pictures, but that day I decided to cross dress. So when I cross dressed, I had to put on makeup. So when they're taking pictures, they told us that it's gonna be safe. The place is secure, everything's in place, the security is tight. So I was so free, like living my life. I'm with people whom we all know our sexuality. So when the following day, my colleagues were calling me, "Hey, Nature, where are you? Nature, where are you?" I'm like, "I'm home sleeping." They're like, "Have you seen the newspapers?" I'm like, "No, I haven't seen anything." So they're like, "Your face is put on the front page of the newspaper, writing that we are back." And on on the writing there was a homo playing a female role on a gay party. So that was a shock, whereby in our country sometimes we do things underground. Let me say underground, whereby so when they called me about that, I was so afraid. I'm like, what am I going to do? What am I going to tell people home? Because by then I was not staying home. I left home because I wanted to be free. I left home at an early age because I was always afraid of like what will happen when people get to know my sexuality, because there was a law whereby in Uganda, if you're found, or if I get to know that you're gay and I don't report you to police or anywhere, you will get arrested for 7 years in prison. And if you're gay, you're going to be arrested for 14 years in prison. So that made, whenever I could, um, whenever that could come into my mind, I could get scared. Like, and I'm gay. I can't change myself. I've tried each and everything people say or talk about. If you do this, if you pray, if you fast, if you do what, but I tried everything, but nothing could change. So when I appeared in the newspaper, I'm like, oh, now I'm dead. I'm dead. No one will listen to me. Now, because my friends were calling me, don't ever come to our place. My dad calling me, where are you? What did we see in the papers? My sister. So I received a lot of phone calls to an extent of like, think of maybe should I commit suicide? I'm not a human. I'm no longer, because there are so many threats. I was like, no, I'm done. I'm going to be arrested. I'm going to be killed. I'm going to be done this. I'm going to be. So that part made me like almost losing it, because no, I didn't have anywhere to go. But at last, still, I had to call Dr. Stella Nyanzi, the person who saved me out of it. She took me to her place, her mommy's, let me say, their home to work. When I was working, she used to pay me. So it was so traumatic. It was so stressful. It was so, I can't even explain, because no one could listen to you. Like it was so, I can't even explain, because it it triggered my mind. So I'm like, they told us that it's going to be safe, and how did our pictures went on going to newspapers, because that paper sold. It sold. By the time I wanted to go get the newspapers, there were no more. And they're like, our president allows homos to bulk because what made us go to the party was like, we're celebrating because when they passed the bill of the kill the gay bill, uh, they had to take it to court, blah blah blah, and they had to say that the quorum was not enough. People were not so many. I mean, the quorum was not enough. There were a few people on that day when the bill was passed. So when it was nullified, when it was changed from a law now back to the bill, we had a celebration. So it was like I was going to be killed. So that was coming to my mind all the time. Whenever I could sleep, I couldn't sleep. I could just wake up all the time. Maybe I'm like I'm killed already. I don't know people around me. I used to hear a lot of voices, sounds in my ears. What are you doing? What are you doing? You're dead. You know, like phone because of I used to receive so many phone calls, so I became traumatized. And when I left my country to another country, and also the situation was not good at all, but only I had to survive by the grace of God. So I'm just praising God. Like I'm here by the grace of God, because leaving your country, going to another country whereby you don't even know whom you're going to meet, I'm like, let me, instead of killing myself from here, let me just go. At least I'll die from a different country or different place.
Mm.
It used to torment me so much. Like when I look back, I'm like, will I ever see my parents again? Will I ever see my brothers? I'm like, so it was so. Like till now, I'm like, will I ever see? However much we talk, because they're far from me. However much I would like to meet them, like I don't know, will I ever meet them again? Like lose, it's like I lost my family, the biological. Though I always keep on telling myself, sorry, though I always keep on telling myself that God is the one who chooses family. The family we create as we people. Like I'm the mother of a certain family, which we created in Nairobi because I used to believe in myself that I'm changed and I can speak for others because I know I'm not doing anything wrong. So we started a family. It was kind of, we used to take this as psychosocial support of us, because many people used to come to me sharing to me about their families, about their losing everything, because we're same people going through the same thing. And when they see you as a strong person, they all come and share with you. So me at the time I lost that, no way I'm going to share too. I can't speak to anyone, but other people could come share to me. So I'm like, I wish I could tell this to my mom. I wish I could tell this to mothers around the world, that it's, you don't have to chase your own child. You don't have to neglect your child. Get a chance. Sit down and speak to these people. Try to understand. Every much you don't believe, or you don't believe in them, that listen. Seeing people committing suicide, dying in front of you, like I used to see a lot of people dying in front of me. I'm like, oh God, now what am I going to do? What am I going to, because I'm their mother. Their parents neglected them. So I was so afraid. I lost my family. I remember you just talk, but that connection is not like that. You feel like there is a connection. Now I've formed another family. Now I'm seeing people dying. They call you mother, mother, mother. So at times I'm like, oh God, will I ever wake up one day and things are like back to normal? I've talked a lot. I've talked a lot.
Well, let me just say, I'm sending you a hug through this screen. And if I were there, I would give you a hug because I really feel like I just feel sad for your sadness. And so just know that I'm sending you a hug right now.
Sure.
Um,
I'm okay.